Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you back to the Dynamic Decisions podcast, where we explore the strategies that drive successful decision making in the world of business. Why? Because the best decisions come from great conversations. I'm your host, Tisha Cable, and today we have a true visionary in large-scale system architecture and artificial intelligence. His name is Roland. He's the CTO and founder at Syntin. So Roland is an AI pioneer whose career spans over 2 decades, including founding the software compliance firm Compliancy Group and serving as CTO at MediaMath, where he focused on advertising and marketing technology. Roland, I'm super jazzed to have you here today. Would you tell everybody more about you, more about your history, and more about Syntin?
Of course. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me. It is lovely to be here. And I hope your listeners will enjoy our conversation together because it's huge. I came out of college with a math degree. I never took computer science classes. I've been coding since I was 7 or 8 years old. And I couldn't stop, and I never did. And I worked at so many companies, even fintech. So I watched high-frequency trading. I coded for it. Hence the MediaMath concept of buying advertising in real time so that you could essentially create a marketplace that never existed in the past. And I went to every single exchange personally, from Google to Rubicon to Yahoo to name them, the PubMatic. I mean, there were so many. And I remember Yahoo thinking I was insane. And Google going, when I would ask for full pipe, they said, well, we don't, that's a lot of data. How are you going to handle that? I go, I got a machine.
I got something for that.
I got one machine. But anyway, we did it. And we wrote all the mathematics behind how to make decisions. And that led to my life into AI. Directly prior to it, I was building applications for what was considered back in the early 2000s was considered Web 2.0. And the problem was I was so accurate that I scared the death out of people. So I could tell you what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see. I could feed you websites. Like you could open up your browser and the next thing you know, a whole bunch of websites open up that are perfectly fit to what you like. That scared people. So when I went to MediaMath and did the advertising world, it was different. And then I was able to at least combine the two, plus my life as a trader in finance, and put them all together and then build this thing. And AI sort of stemmed out of that. And I realized how much the majority of AI is obviously built on the large language model, which I have tremendous respect for. It is a very complicated problem. My AI is not about large language models. It's about decision making. It's a very different style because if you think about a car, you came to the end of a block and you can either go left or right. The car should know you can only go left or right. That's a decision. That is not based on you ask the car, which way should I go? There's no communication. It just automatically happens. So that's a lot of what I built at Syntin, which was to make decisions for people to help them improve their business and to gain efficiencies in areas that they were lacking. So that's my background.
I love it.
In a nutshell.
I love it. And I love that we're in the decision space together. So hello, my brother in decision making. Okay. So the AI market is really this increasingly polarized, place, right? You've got the foundation models, which you just talked about. These providers are actually promising universal solutions. And then you've got niche vendors who are offering pinpoint solutions. Your reasoning-based AI that really validates its own conceptual models, essentially challenges the train on massive data sets model and hope for generalization paradigm. So,
Right.
walk us through a moment when you have to decide whether to conform to market expectations around what enterprise AI, quote unquote, should look like versus staying really true to a fundamentally different architectural philosophy, even when it means harder conversations with with prospects, excuse me, and who are conditioned to evaluate AI through a completely different lens.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, um, you brought up a couple of points that are huge that I want to hit on
Okay.
first. You talked about I don't need as much data as the large language models need. Why? Because I'm not analyzing tomes of information to make a decision. I'm analyzing what you're doing in real time. Don't get me wrong, the probabilities increase the more I see you do it. If I see you constantly make a left off of this road, I'm going to say you probably should make a left. Why? Because it's telling me you do it 95% of the time. That's just pure mathematics. Now, all of that being said, when you go into the decision world, it is really about how fast you can process information. How fast can I analyze what is happening and what can I do with the information once I get it? It shouldn't be about let me learn. The companies that there's a lot of them. I'm not going to name any names because most of them I respect tremendously. But they come in and they say, we're going to need 6 months to train our models because their models are based off of communication.
Mm.
Imagine if you removed communication from the equation. Once you do that, and I just tell you what I see, everything changes because now I can tell you, hey, by the way, did you know that your salesman Bill in Wichita is making the most money of all your salesmen, and he's doing it by these avenues? And why are your other salesmen not doing that? And I could tell companies that. And I didn't ask for it. I didn't ask them to ask me. I just told them because it was something that popped up mathematically that I realized this makes an impact. And that's kind of the way that I treat everything we do in AI.
This is good. Let's keep digging in. I think people are going to get a lot from this conversation from you. I think this is going to be very clarifying around the difference between AI by itself and
Right.
AI as a decision tool, which is very helpful for our use case as well. So I'm loving this conversation. So you've built these systems, right? Some that span microsecond level trading decisions to multi-month compliance workflows. So when you're
Correct.
kind of architecting your reasoning engine, how do you navigate between the tension of delivering immediate performance metrics that win deals, like sub-second response times or impressive accuracy scores, and building deeper self-validation capabilities that only prove their worth when a client avoids like a catastrophic decision? Is there some human cost in this, like when organizations choose speed over reasoning? And how do you make the case for the latter when like quarterly pressures might favor the former?
Sure. That's an unbelievably good question. Okay, I'm going to address the first one.
Okay.
The first one is very similar to the way quantum dynamics works. Sorry, people are going to be like, why does this dude know quantum mechanics? Because I do. So as a result, in anything in the quantum world, it is all based on probabilities. The general question of Schrodinger's cat, is it dead or alive in the box? You can't answer the question, and it's both. It's dead and alive because you don't know. So that produces probabilistic results.
Mhm.
And I am able to tell you probabilistically this is, or stochastically, depends on how you want to use it, this is your best option to succeed. I have to understand your end goal. That's a huge thing. The user does have to tell me, what do you want to do? I want to increase sales. Okay. I will look at everything to make sure I target the very simple question of I want to increase sales. And I'll review it, analyze it, create all these probabilities, and tell them these are all your options. And then they could look at it and say, okay, well, I'm going to pick this one because this one seems like the most obvious. And let's say it's wrong. So I can now, this is now touching on your second part. Let's say that I look at all these probabilities, I create them for you, you pick one, and I start to see the results coming back. So the result sets that come back help me define if my probabilities were wrong. And now I say to you, remember when I told you you had a 90% chance of succeeding? I was wrong. You have really a 75% chance of succeeding. But if you change some of the parameters, I can get you back to 90 and let's run it again. And I could simulate it on all of your data. And then I can then say, let's use that moving forward. No systems do that today. Nothing. So that very simple, I like to call it rewind. Just rewind what you did, look at it again, change things around and go, oh, damn, that would have been better. Great. You didn't pick the guy that was 85, but the guy that was 85% chance of likelihood ended up being a 96% chance of likelihood. Fine. Change the parameters. Now let's run it. And again, same thing. I care about output. I care about, input. Well, how do I say that? I care about the data that comes back to me regarding how you're performing, your performance metrics. And once I look at those, I can start to adjust and play with the systems to make more intelligent decisions. And if companies if you get a company that has a lot of subsidiaries, which many of my clients are, they'll have anywhere from 80 to 800. Mm-hmm. And I can actually see across all of those 800. So as a result, I can tell you, this is all the data I got back from 800 different clients. Mm-hmm. And this is what I'm noticing. And that becomes huge. So there still is this concept of the more I know, the smarter I get. Just like a child. The more you talk to the child, the more likely they will be able to speak the language. If you are a mute, the child won't speak. That's it. So that's kind of where we go. AI is a weird one, but in and of itself, but that's kind of what we try to accomplish for customers.
So tell me this. This is just random, only because you talked about probabilistic inference a little bit. So 1950, 1960, or 1970? When did this become a thing?
Oh,
which year?
Holy. Well, all right. 1970s is Bell Labs. 1960s is Bell Labs. 1950s is Oppenheimer. Man, I'm going to have to say it started in the 50s with the creation of the bomb, because they were looking at the likelihood that they could wipe out an area and just probabilistic inference. And then from there, you started to hit the Bell Lab world. And then Bell Labs is in the 60s, the very early 70s, before Ma Bell disappeared. But, those are all really, really awesome topics.
I know. We don't have to go too deep.
I recommend people to read on how the bomb was created and read all about Bell Labs and learn all of these guys. The language of C, do you know this? The language of C was created by Kernighan or Ritchie. I never remember which one did it, but he did it over a weekend. Unix was built in a weekend because the guy's wife went away. So he worked for 24 hours for like 3 days and wrote Unix. I mean, come on. It's
Yeah, I
kind of
believe it.
awesome.
It is awesome, and I think the best things usually come like that. The most lasting things usually come fast, and then you build on them and make them
Yeah.
better over time. Really good. Yep, I got the late 50s, early 60s for probabilistic inference. So super cool stuff. Algorithms in the 50s, which would tie it very
Yep.
nicely to your bombs, and you get back propagation in the 80s. I mean, kind of fun stuff around this growth from statistics to artificial intelligence. A lot of times people don't think a lot about this still being mathematics because they're so wrapped up in the generative AI
Yeah.
movie land. All right, let's go far. Here we go. This next one is all about your leadership in data strategy. So you got the best AI engineering teams. They often question whether problems even require machine learning. And then they push back on any kind of request that might compromise system integrity. But these traits can make them really difficult to align with like our business stakeholders who need solutions right now. So you're leading engineers who are building these reasoning systems inherently harder to explain the statistical pattern matching. So how do you create an environment where your team challenges conventional AI approaches while ensuring that they understand the business consequences when they're pursuing the optimal solution, which could delay is getting a good enough system into the hands of people whose decisions you could probably improve immediately?
Of course.
Yeah.
So the way that I have done it in the past is I try to align very closely with, we'll call it the sales effort for lack of a better term. And I try to get my engineers to understand that what drives these guys is what we deliver. So sometimes if they come up with something really, I mean, like out there in La La Land, we can say no. But if they come up with something that we can do it. Why? Because there is no better way to succeed than failure. It sounds crazy that I'm saying that. I've
No, it
ran
doesn't.
700 plus people in my lifetime, not in my lifetime, at one job. I've
Yep.
ran so many people, and I never had a direct report quit on me ever in my lifetime. They
Oh man,
never, ever
congratulations.
left me. And I'm
Wow.
54 years old. So,
Yeah.
I did a pretty good job of being a CTO. I've spoken at many conferences. I talked to rooms stuffed to the gills. And for me, it's always been about the employees that work for you to make them feel entitled in the sense that I value their opinion. I've said this phrase forever. A good CTO knows what not to do.
Hmm.
He doesn't know what to do, but he knows what not to do. And he relies on his people to come back to him and say, I have an idea. And then if it's one that I go, dude, yeah, so did I about 10 years ago, that thing blew up like nobody's business. They're immediately moving on.
Yeah.
And you get your teams to learn how to respect what comes out of product, what comes out of sales, what comes out of the CEO's mouth, which
Wait a minute now.
no, don't take it the wrong way. Don't worry. I have now two companies that
Uh,
I don't want to be the CEO. I just don't.
that's
I
okay.
don't
You
I don't have the
actually
Rolodex.
you just unlocked something between me and my CTO with some words you just said, by the way. And he's going to appreciate you for this. And as soon as we get off this call, I'm going to call him up and tell him he's good. Because this concept of a good CTO knows what not to do is fascinating at its like human core, because a lot of times we can imagine a million things in these spaces, but for this a lot the CTO is often viewed as the no guy. I know even in my own company, like we're always, oh, tell Russ is going to say no. So he knows what not to do. This fits with what you're supposed to expect from that role. So that's kind of That was kind of deep. I've worked with a bunch of technical folks. Engineers think a certain way, but I think I wasn't thinking about, no, this is the guardrail dude. Like he's here to make sure we don't walk off the cliff.
Yeah. That's
That's
his job.
that's his job.
He's
Good.
there to make sure you don't walk off the cliff. And
Right.
don't get me wrong, he's also there to invent, to create intellectual property, to recognize when there is a spot that you can do something special, to preach that to his team such that his team, they believe in him so much that they will do whatever they can. And as a CTO, your other goal is to take an engineer and realize what the engineer believes is his breaking point. And then you
Ooh.
push them just a little farther past it.
Phew.
And what happens is they accomplish it and now they feel proud. And you're like, dude, I knew you could do it. Told you. Why do you think I
Yes.
hired you, you idiot?
This you're just bringing up stuff for me, and then we'll get back to what we're actually here to talk about too. But on this note, I actually also feel like one of the things that my CTO recognized once, I have to keep bringing him up. He's awesome. His name is Dr. Russ Mussolini, but he would say all the time, "Hey, I got my team, and all they want to do is build something that's going to be meaningful. They want to build something that gets into the hands of people, and that's going to work." And he
Yeah.
would constantly say this, right? And I'd be like, of course, we'll get there, right? That's what we'll do. But he's like, no, this is like the most important thing. And so now that you're talking about this concept of like push them, so he's trying to find that thing.
Yep.
You're breaking it open for me, right? Because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to find that thing that he can then support that engineer and being pushed through. So we found something that works. You got something out in the world. How are you going to 10x it from
Yeah.
an engineering lens? Man, that's good.
Sure. Yeah,
Good.
that's cool.
Yeah, I love
That's
it.
the way it works. That's it. I mean, it's
Yes.
really not that hard. It is kind of hard, but there is somewhat of a methodology behind all of it. And when you follow it, I always said that my job in life, and believe me, it has happened to me a bunch of times, is to work myself out of a job. And the reason being is I want the people who work for me to replace me because I want them to feel so confident that they don't need me anymore. And then when the time comes and I get told, Roland, dude, we don't really need you. I'm like, okay, I'll see you. It's not like I'm not going to get another job in about, I don't know, one day. So it
Right.
never mattered to me.
Yeah.
And I have more guys that have worked for me that have become CTOs over the years that I am so proud of. And I still
Yeah.
speak to all of them. All
Wow.
of them. I get on the phone, I call them up. They'll immediately answer the phone.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of respect, that they have towards me that is a little different. They still see me as the guy that taught them, that got
Yeah.
them there, that did all this work. And it's awesome. I mean, I love it.
That's
That's
just
when you
great.
start your own companies. And you
I
know what?
love
I
it.
had enough. I'm starting my own companies.
Okay, speaking of, let's do this. Let's now explore your decision-making style through our persona assessment. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you 4 different questions representing different decision-making approaches. And
Okay.
after each one, you're going to tell me how much it resonates with how you actually approach decisions, and you're going to have a scale of 0 to 100%. And the thing is, though, across all 4, you only get 100% total. So we're going to keep
Perfect.
track. And
Gotcha.
no, I will not give you all of them up front. They're one at a time. And you'll give me a little why statement after you give each answer. Okay.
You
Here we
got it.
go.
Go.
Here's the first one. It's called the feeler. The feeler is a values driven leader. So this persona prioritizes alignment with core values and mission, often weighing the human impact and cultural fit of decisions alongside business metrics. So when considering a lucrative contract that technically fits Syntin's capabilities, I ask myself, Beyond whether we can solve their technical problem, what are the downstream human consequences if this system works exactly as designed? If we build a reasoning engine helping an insurance company identify high risk applicants with unprecedented accuracy, are we creating a more efficient system for denying coverage to vulnerable populations? If we optimize a hiring algorithm, could we entrench existing biases under a veneer of mathematical rigor? Even when a client's intentions seem benign, I wrestle with whether our self validating approach might simply be harmful decisions, might make harmful decisions more defensible. How do I weight advancing AI reasoning against the reality that more sophisticated decision systems can cause more sophisticated harm, possibly, and then maybe not? So, Roland, how much does this approaching decisions by asking that kind of value-based question resonate with you?
Yep. I'm writing down my numbers so I don't
Okay.
go over 100.
Okay.
I know.
That's okay.
5%.
Okay. All right.
And there are reasons why, but I will explain all of
You
my rationale for every single question. Do you want them at the
you can get
question time?
let's I like it at the question
Okay.
because it means that you don't have all the information in front of you. So you're deciding on the fly.
So first of all, the question is 100% accurate. However, there are certain things I can't worry about right now. I can't. Believe me, you're touching on a subject that I am touching on very soon, which is the what AI can do or end up causing as a result of utilizing AI that is making decisions and doing it better than Joe Smith, who is a guy that works there. And you're like, well, why do I need him? You brought up a touchy one.
Okay.
So that's why I'm going to give it 5%
Okay.
because for me, there is only so many things I can worry about. And while I worry about that, I I try not to let it influence my decisions because if you let it influence your decisions, the next thing you know, you're building systems that are catered to ensuring things that you can't guarantee. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
But
it's okay. That
it's
that
a great
that's a good
question.
answer. Yeah, like, no, this is exactly what we're doing, right? We're just
Yeah.
feeling through. So no worries. That's a great answer. And I what I really appreciate about the answer is it's just a right now because every decision is about the moment in time that it's most relevant for the outcomes that you're trying to achieve. So yeah, I mean,
Right.
a certain stage company can't make certain decisions right now. And so it's not that it doesn't matter, it's just a matter of right now. So I like that you actually brought that up that way. Let's go to the next one. It's called the planner. It's the strategic visionary. So this persona focuses on long-term implications and future-proofing decisions, always thinking several moves ahead and considering multiple scenarios. So when making architectural choices about Syntin's core reasoning engine, I consider three radically different futures that we must prepare for simultaneously. In one, regulatory pressure towards explainability intensifies, and clients need systems that satisfy auditors, even if it compromises performance. In another, we see a race to the bottom on latency and cost, commoditizing AI entirely. And in a third, quantum computing or neuromorphic chips render today's performance assumptions obsolete. Every decision about our technology stack, go to market approach, and hiring either expands or constrains our optionality across these futures. Do I optimize for the most likely scenario or accept lower near term performance to maintain adaptability? How do I build a company that can pivot without requiring complete re architecture? Okay, so, Roland, how much does that forward thinking, scenario planning approach to questioning resonate with how you actually make decisions?
That's also an unbelievably good question. I would say 10%.
Okay.
And here's my rationale. You have to optimize for now. There is n- there is nothing to project and make gross assumptions of what'll happen. Quantum computing, great example. That's the one that really threw a little dent in everything. But when is it coming out? You going to tell me? Because you don't know. I don't know. None of us know. I know guys that are building quantum computers. They don't know. So as a result, I'm like, okay, so should I optimize for what I can optimize for now, with the concept being I can adapt my code? Now, it's a very different question if you would have asked me, how do you write your code? Your code should be written such that it is easily adaptable and does not need to be tossed and redone. So if you do that effectively and intelligently, it doesn't matter what you optimize for. So I optimize for today, and then tomorrow you tell me there's this new thing. It's it's a Pikachu. And I'm like, okay, this is great. I've always loved a Pikachu. So you're like, oh my God, I didn't think of that one. So now you have to adapt a class and modify stuff. Granted, I'm a C++ programmer. I know most people code in Python. You'll find a Java programmer here or there, but I still do low level C, C++, assembly language. Everything I do, I care about clock cycles. So for me, we only optimize after. But when you optimize for the day. What have I built? How can I optimize this to make sure it runs as fast as humanly possible? And if I need to adjust it, can I? And if you can answer yes to all of them, then it doesn't matter. So I'm going to give it 10% because it's a nasty problem. And it's a problem that a lot of people don't realize exists. That's
good. That's good. All right. You ready?
Yeah,
We're
go,
going
girl.
on to the next one. It's called the counter. It's a challenger of assumptions. So this persona naturally questions conventional wisdom and always looks for contrarian opportunities, often finding success by zigging when others zag. So when the entire AI industry obsesses over scaling, bigger models, more parameters, larger training sets, I ask myself, what if the assumption that better AI requires more data is fundamentally backwards for real-time decision making? What if organizations drown in data precisely because they've optimized for collection over reasoning? Syntin's thesis around self-validating conceptual models is contrarian. We're betting reasoning about smaller amounts of more relevant information beats pattern matching across oceans of loosely related data. But every potential client has been conditioned by a decade of big data thinking. When deciding whether to emphasize our differentiation or demonstrate we fit existing expectations, how do I avoid the trap where being contrarian becomes being unmarketable? Is there opportunity precisely because established players are locked into architectures requiring massive scale? Okay, Roland, how much does that assumption challenging
That is my
contrarian style?
So far, you've hit my favorite question. That's getting a 50%. Okay. Because that question is so awesome. I love the contrarian. That is me. You look at stuff and you say to yourself, what the hell are they doing? And I'll give you a great example. And this I will name a company because I have to. So you look at a company like OpenAI, which, by the way, awesome. No issues with them at all. But for them to do the things that I can do would require them to modify their code base. They can't modify their code base. It's not possible. They would have to build totally new components to hopefully, God forbid, slam it in and somehow it all communicates and everybody's happy. I don't want to deal with that architectural problem. So this one is perfect. I actually look at the world exactly that way. I say, what is wrong with everything everybody shows me, tells me, have you seen this company? I've seen every friggin' one at this point. Have you seen these guys? Have you seen what those guys are doing? Can you tell? Yeah, I have. And do you want me to tell you what I believe is wrong with all of them? And I can. And, I get yelled at every now and then for being too mean towards some of these companies, but they're fighting for position in a world where position changes. It's like a football ranking, right? You might win this week, but what happens if you lose next week? You drop in the rankings.
Whoa, come
And,
on.
and I mean, you're from Alabama, or you're in Alabama.
I'm in Alabama, yes.
Yes. So you've got your Roll Tide, you've got your War Eagle. I mean, you're good to go. So,
Yes.
but in that breath, you can see why there was only so much I believe that when these guys build these dedicated systems to do dedicated things, that they're gonna make a mistake. And when they make a mistake, can they get out of the mistake?
Yeah,
And
is it
that
a
is
one-way or
huge.
two-way? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, that's why I've always insisted everything we write doesn't care what's coming in. Doesn't know. I've always been asked, like, oh, well, what if I give you this? I don't give a crap what you give me. There's a column. You called it age. I'll look at it and go, average age is 42. And I don't know what it means. My system doesn't understand what it means. It just knows whether or not it correlates to other items that have an impact on success. That is it. So you start to learn to build these systems that avoid these sort of targeted paths of the world. That is the guy you described in the quote contrarian. So
There
yeah,
we
I'm a
go.
big fan. I hit 50% on one.
You did. You hit 50%. You've got 35% left for this last one, just in case it works out.
I know I got to give it to. I already did the math.
You already did it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure you did. So here's this last one. Are you ready? It's called the data driver. It's the evidence-based decision maker. So this persona relies heavily on metrics, analytics, and concrete evidence to validate decisions, preferring proof over intuition. So before committing to a strategic direction, I ask myself, what does the evidence actually tell us versus what do we want it to tell us? I want rigorous analysis distinguishing between metrics that look impressive in demos like accuracy scores or inference speeds and indicators that predict long-term business value, like whether decisions made with the AI's guidance led to better outcomes 6 months later. But here's the paradox. The most important factors, whether engineers trust it for critical decisions, whether it degrades gracefully in novel situations, whether it helps users develop better intuition, these resist quantification until years after deployment. How do I balance the need for concrete performance data against the reality that relationship, trust, and decision quality are leading indicators that only become measurable in hindsight? So, Roland, how much does that data-driven, evidence-focused approach to questioning resonate with how you make your strategic decisions?
Yeah, that is 35%. That's perfect. So I agree 100% with testing and understanding everything before you do anything, to look at it and say, what should my results be like? And you could view it manually and say, okay, well, it should come out this way. Now, the rest of the question is brutal. I don't agree with it's going to take forever to find out.
Okay.
I feel like you find out in bits and pieces. And for every bit and piece that comes in, you adjust and adapt. Think about it. Again, I'm going to go back to the simple reference of a child. When a child goes out, actually, you know what? I'll even tell you one of my sons, because it was brilliant, because I watched him do it every day. And I was like, dude, when are you going to learn? He insisted he had to stand on a chair. Don't ask. And he would stand on a chair and he would always fall off the chair. And it would be the same thing every day. Like, dude, Ryan, stop. By the way, the kid's brilliant. And I'm like, Ryan, stop standing on a chair, for the love of God. And, but in the same breath, they learn from not only repetition, which would be rote learning, but they learn from things that happen now,
Yeah, the
right?
experience. Yeah.
My oldest son, I never forgot it, said to me, "Dad, I'm going to jump from the window seat onto my bed." And I said, "Aiden, you're going to miss because it's too far away, and you're going to hit your head right there and you're going to be crying." He goes, "No, no, I won't." I go, "Okay."
Right.
He jumps, does exactly what I said he was going to do, and he never did it again. So it all depends on, the person or the child.
Yeah.
But the reality is in software, it's the same thing. It's how fast do you want to adapt? Now, I can adapt very quickly if I need to. I could also adapt very slowly. And I could say that, well, this data is more weighted because it came in earlier and I have more of it, and this one's weighted lightly. Or I could flip it. Like, who cares? See, that's what I love about that move. Are they right or are they wrong? It's not a question of are they right or are they wrong. Is it it's more of a question is there a different approach that one could have taken to get to the same result by flipping things around? And if I did that, could I have gotten there quicker than they did? Didn't take
Mm-hmm.
me 6 months. Took me 1 week
Mm-hmm.
for me to come up with very similar numbers and say, "Yeah, I wouldn't jump from there to there." You're not
Wow, the
you're
end.
not gonna make it. But yeah,
Roland, yeah, this is great. Roland, I really I want to wrap up. I just got to thank you so much for your answers so far. So you've helped these organizations across diverse industries to really take advantage of data and tech, right? Everything from compliance to this high frequency trading. If you could give one piece of advice to leaders who want to leverage AI for meaningful, real-time decision making, what would it be?
okay. It would be that AI is here to help make jobs more effective and efficient. It is not, and I don't want companies looking at it and telling me, well, now I don't need this guy because my
Right.
AI does it.
Right.
It is not about replacing. It's about making you smarter. And it's about helping you come to decisions that you may not have seen. And I'll give you one example. And in advertising, there was a client, a very, very big client, who insisted that they understood their market. And I said, "You have no idea what your market is." And my example was, imagine if the world, imagine if you sold, uh, I wish I could pick a different phrase, but I can't because I'm used to it. You sold women's lingerie. Great. You are selling women's lingerie. Who do you sell to? Well, you're going to tell me the things that I know off the top of my head, right? Like, that's easy. Explain why from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, every Thursday, you sell more women's lingerie to men that I can't explain. They can't explain it. And I'm like, that's the difference. I'm trying to tell you, you don't know your market. The
Mm.
computer knows your market. It learns it. It figures out these are the pockets you all missed. And it's not a magazine. The world is not a magazine. Stop buying it like it. Stop going, well, I know the readership is, 40% women and 60% male, and I'm going to buy that. You're wasting money. If one company would have sent me an ad and me and only me, they would have made $7 million
Hmm.
for penny. Come on. Like, how hard is that? I was in Netiza back in the day, but like, how hard is that? You find your pockets, and those pockets exist in every industry. Who do you sell product to? Who do
Yep.
you get on as customers?
Yep.
Who do you talk to? No matter what it is, it's all marketing and advertising, and they all tie together. Everything ties together. That's AI. So don't let it replace anybody's jobs. Use it as a tool to be smarter about the job that you do on a daily basis.
That's
Don't,
right.
ready?
Yep.
Don't destroy the farm team because you think a computer can do it. If you
Mm.
kill the farm team, who are you going to bring up to play in the pros? Because they're not going
Mm.
to get a job.
Oh, come on. Come on, pocket. Stay. You got to find the pocket. All
Gotta
right.
find the pocket.
Got to
That's right,
find the
girl.
pocket. This is
Gotta find the
awesome.
pocket.
Anyway, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Thank you for sharing with our audience. And would you let our listeners know, Roland, where they can find out more about you and more about Syntin?
Of course. Of course. You can always go to Syntin.ai. That's our website. You could find me on LinkedIn. Just look up Roland Cozzolino. I'm the only Roland Cozzolino in the world. Don't ask. I do know that. But you can find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me. You can find me. I'm on Instagram. I do a lot of different stuff, so I'm all over the place. But and if you ever see anything from somebody named Uncle Milford, that's me.
That's you. Okay, Uncle Milford. And to our listeners, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Remember, the best decisions come from great conversations. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to subscribe it, rate it, and share it with your network. Let's keep the conversation going on social media using Dynamic Decisions Podcast. And until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep leading with purpose.